Hello, everyone, and we're back. I'm Bill,
I'm Dan.
and we're here again to talk about some HOA community living on our community corner. Before we even get started, let me get the legal stuff out. You know, our community corner podcast disclaimer. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liability that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace any professional advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or management. That's enough of that. So, today our topic is going to be, I do believe, elections. Isn't that true, Dan?
Yep, it sure is.
All right, and I'm going to give it to Dan to run us through. Thanks.
And we got all kinds of information here. We got stuff from the state itself, some of the statutes, how they apply. Some of the questions that I had dug up, and this is actually, as Bill has suggested, we should tell you, this is through an artificial intelligence. We asked him, should a property management company be involved in your election? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, every community that has something like an HOA and some sort of election for board members should actually have an election committee. I'm not talking about some of the ones that you see that are just local committees. All they do is count your ballots. I'm talking about how you structure it, what you do, who has access to it, which is nobody. Nobody should have access to any of the ballots until the day of counting the ballots. Simple and plain. Anything like that should be. The proper steps, I mean, these are things I'd gladly share with people. You know, for a board election, reviewing any of the governing documents that apply, appoint, second item on this, I just said it, a committee, an election committee. Let me ask all the community living people out there, do you have a committee for this? Anybody? Hello? We'll call them Faraway Village over there. Any of them over there have anything like that? I don't know. It'd be a great question. We'll ask some of our accountants. We got one here in our park, I'll ask. Matter of fact, we like to call her the accountant. You got to have an election date and a nomination board for sure. All of these things apply. All these, like notice to the homeowners, we do that kind of thing anyway because you have to. These are all things that have to be followed by the state. Nomination of candidates, preparing the ballots. Those are all things that are done by resources. I mean, any kind of resource that you have that's available to you. Any kind. Usually any kind of property management company will handle those things for you to get them all organized. Election meetings, do we have any meetings like that? Not usually. And we do have like candidates night here in our park. I don't know what others have. Collecting and counting the ballots is really important. Who has access to that? Anybody? Bill? Anything that you might add on that? How it should work?
How it should work is, like you said, Dan, we should not have any access to the ballots till election day. There's a lot of guidelines the state has put up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where I live, our HOA says, well, we don't have to follow those guidelines because we're this or that. You know, and we've asked here about an election committee, and we told, oh, that's not necessary. Well, I says, then who's going to take care of the election day? Oh, we have a group of people. I said, that's a committee. No, it's not a committee, we're told. Because you see, if it becomes a committee, there are certain guidelines that the state says you have to follow. And they don't follow those guidelines. Because we don't have an election committee. You know, so it gets kind of hard. I mean, last year, our HOA, our management company, was caught on video opening the ballot box up and pulling envelopes out and doing stuff.
Shame.
You know, and we were told that's perfectly legal.
That's why we've always done it.
That's exactly what we heard. It's always done it that way. But you know, there's something wrong with that. I mean, ethics alone is a question. You know, besides doing the right thing and doing it legally.
This right here, Bill, just so I can share this. This is vote counting procedures and administrative codes. These are things about a state. Ballots collected, handled by impartial committees and things like that. And there's some information right here that's by a Perez Mayoral from the law offices, his phone number, and anybody who wants this, I'll gladly share it with you. There's a phone number, an email. They have legal assistants that are experienced. You can challenge, dispute, anything you want to deal with elections, especially if they're not on the up and up.
Yeah. The problem is, in the state of Florida where we live, the statutes are a little confusing. And, you know, certain boards only follow certain statutes because they say we don't have to follow those statutes. You know, and we've inquired and we've been told that that's not the case.
Yeah, here's some of those
So-
statutes you speak of right here.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think it's under 720, isn't it?
Yep,
That
yep,
They
absolutely
lay out
right.
the election and how it's supposed to be
Sure,
done.
they follow the correct election rules. I mean, you know, election timeline, everything is in here.
Yeah.
And it's all, yeah.
So, you know, do the research and inform yourselves on what's going on in your community. Because, you know, the state is there to help.
They sure are.
I mean, it takes time, we'll be honest with everyone out there. The state does not move the quickest. Because they've got a lot of stuff they deal with. There's a lot of us sending stuff to the state for review and questioning stuff and waiting for answers. So it takes them time, you know, to get back to you. But that's the recourse we have here.
Here's some good stuff that I dug up. And I simply asked a question about what kind of things you can do. And so, and of course, I love this one. Communicate with other residents. If you suspect something's wrong, speak with other homeowners to see if they share the same concerns. Together, you can organize a group to request a formal investigation or challenge the results. I don't think anybody wants to challenge anything, but I mean, we just should be all handled on the up and up and not by everybody's favorite, you know?
Yeah. So like we said, you know, this podcast is just for information to get out there. We give you some of our experience, that's all we can do. You know, it's not legal advice, but it's, you know, what we've been running into. And we're curious, have you been running into it also in your community? You know, and did you have any kind of resolution of it, or are you still in the middle of it? Let us know.
Yeah, and no matter what the topic is that you talk about, any kind of community living, especially if you bring it to a public forum of any kind, whether it be a message board or some social media platform, always going to be somebody out there that's a bully. Everybody has the dragon lady, you know, they want to tell you how to do it and what you should do, and you know, they want to always claim to be right. And that's great. I like that. Myself personally, there's a lot of good people, a lot of bad people. I always consider the source. Always.
But coming down to the elections, I mean, we're coming to the end of the year. I mean, it's October, and election season is going to be upon us quickly.
Cool. Candidates, who do we got? Raise your hand.
Yeah. We're
Oh,
looking,
I see a couple over here in the audience.
Yep, we're all looking for candidates.
That's
you
the
know,
cat. That's the cat. Sorry.
you know, and somebody that's going to be for the community. You know, we have a community here that's a great community. It really is a great place to live. The problem is our board
Doesn't get along.
don't get along. They don't want to hear from the community. They pass motions and then put it out to the community for their opinions, which at that point doesn't make any difference. The motion's already been passed, and whether it's a contract to be signed or whatever, is already done. So what we share after the fact doesn't even come into it.
This is something I thought was interesting. I actually went out there and I asked an artificial intelligence computer this simple question. What do you do if an HOA president has excluded some board members? What do you do? You know, I mean, I can speak personally from that. You know, some people think that, you know, some of the HOAs and some of the presidents do a great job of it. Well, I can speak from experience that the one we have might be a little kind of, did he make the right decisions? Some of them possibly, but not including all board members. That's really not, I mean, they were voted in. Some people in the park itself would say that.
What does AI have to say about it?
Oh, yeah. Well, first thing it says is if the homeowners association president excluding some board members from decision-making or meetings, this could be a violation of the board's rules or bylaws, and it undermines the functionality of the board. And here's some steps. They actually kind of put all kinds of steps out here that you can actually do. I personally would have thought it was a waste of time to go out and pursue it because being on the board around here really wasn't a thrill for me anyway, so. What else you got, Bill? Anything exciting?
Oh,
You want to read some of these, or?
Well, you talk about bylaws, you know? Yeah, the last time I questioned bylaws in a board meeting, the person that was telling us that it's not in the bylaws was, well, bylaws are only a guide anyway. That's the kind of thinking that goes on here. Does it go on in your community? You know, but it's wrong. We know that. We know bylaws are passed for a reason, and that's how a community or a group is governed, by the bylaws they pass. And we have a group that just scoffs at the bylaws. They don't care. And the recourse there is you can't go to the state about that because the state comes back and says, well, that's an internal issue. You have to take it up internally.
I wonder if that Florida Homeowners Association, I wound up joining that. I don't know if you
Oh,
did.
yes, I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that's-
FMO.
So yeah, I wonder if, because there's one item here, it talks about legal consultation,
Yeah.
as far as being excluded and refused to include everybody, that's really not right. It's the people of, Boot Hill or any kind of community, Faraway
Right.
Village or whichever one you
Yeah,
like.
and down here it's called Florida Mobile Home Association.
Yeah,
All right, but it covers all HOAs. And they do have different recourses through them. They have attorneys you can contact and try to get some help with your issues, And that's basically how the boards are. I mean, a lot of the boards around the state and people I've talked to have said that. The boards say, what are you going to do? There's nothing, they know you can't go to the state with those kind of issues. So the only recourse we have is to hire an attorney.
well, community involvement as well, that's a good thing. Get other
Community
people.
involvement.
Yeah, say, hey.
So, I mean, there are things
Right.
you can do. You can start a petition to have the board removed. That takes time. And it's awful odd that different boards wait till almost the end of their term before they start passing stuff, where they know there's not enough time to get them removed and replaced. So what they pass is going to stand until, the next election.
I like the word recall. Recalls are very good.
But recall's hard to do too, because it takes time. You have to get a certain percentage, sign a petition,
Yep.
and then get the board to read it. We've had petitions brought to the board, and the president refuses to acknowledge them. I mean, what is that, So,
At one time, this park had a recall for a board member who's actually still on the board. I think this would be this final year.
that's if you don't run again. Yeah.
I don't think you can. I found something that, 8 years, unless you don't have enough people to show up and run. That's the only reason that you
Yeah,
can actually
okay.
stay in the, it's in an 8 year, that's a Florida statute, 8 years. I got it right here somewhere. I was reading it, and one of our homeowners, a good friend of mine, Cheryl, she told me this just a couple weeks ago. She said, make sure you find that, and I did. Says they can't. The only way they can is if there's no other, it's like, okay, nobody left. Nobody left. Okay, you can go ahead and run. Do we want that? No.
So, Dan, I also want to talk about how important elections are. Okay? I mean, the community I live in, we get maybe 50% of the population votes. We need more participation. And voting is very easy in almost every community. Most of the time, it's a ballot that's mailed to
Yep.
you. You fill it out, you put it back in the mail,
Or go online.
or the easiest way to do it, and I personally feel the safer way to do it today, is to go online and do your vote online. I know a lot of us our ages and I don't want to mess with computers. Every community runs lessons on how to do it, and it's very simple to do. It's not hard, because you see, if you vote online, there's no way a ballot can be tampered with in a ballot box,
There's always a record.
right? And online voting, there's a record. There's a log of who signs in and when. It's kept automatically by the website that's got the voting on it. And here in this community, someone always asks at the election or right after the election, we'd like a copy of the log. We don't want to hear that, oh, nobody was in. No, I want a printed copy of the log to make sure nobody was going in there and playing games, with the votes. But, ballots in these days, you hear all kinds of problems around this country we live in with absentee ballots and things like that. how things have changed, how things are lost. Oh, all of a sudden, 2 months after an election, they find a couple of thousand ballots, you know? You never know. Where if you vote online, it's kind of really hard to tamper with it. So that's just a little piece of advice, and it's easier online. You go online, couple of clicks, blah blah blah, and you're done.
In elections, no matter whether you're voting in a local community like ours, or whether or not you're voting for the President of the United States or your local senators or what have you, be informed. Find some information about them. Make a conscious decision. I personally think when we think about the president that this country struggles to give us two good candidates. It really does, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. And sometimes you're faced with that at the local level as well. So we need good candidates here in the park. Make a difference. Have a voice.
Yeah.
Run for it.
Yeah.
Why not?
I know where I live, a lot of people don't get involved because of the bullying that goes on, and
Yeah.
there is a lot of bullying goes on in this community where I live, and it's so people don't want to get involved. They don't want to put up with that, But it's like being back in school,
Well, living with
The more
wicked witch
the
of the
more
West.
questions you ask, the more bullying you're going to get. For myself personally, it don't bother me. You know, that's all they got. That's what I say to them all the time. That's all you got,
I'm more concerned about the lying and the sneakiness, and I can't deal with that, and the name calling and the
Yeah.
blaming others, and that's
Yeah.
the stuff that really
Yeah.
turned me off.
The lying is one of the biggest things. One of the things that goes on. Our board has voted not to retain any videos of any meeting, committee meetings, board meetings, or anything. And there's one simple reason why they're doing that. Because they don't want to get caught lying.
Read the minutes.
Or get caught with somebody saying, hey, we informed you that was going to happen. You see, now they tell us, well, read the minutes. The only thing that's in our minutes is the motion and whether it passed or failed.
Nothing you said.
Nothing you said, none of the discussion,
We
none
don't-
of it
we
is
don't
put
care.
in our minutes. They say they don't have to. And it's like,
Well, and it's a legal thing. I understand that. Somebody's
Yeah.
made illegal advice to some people and say, hey, you don't need to do that.
yeah.
That's fine.
So, and they say our minutes are our legal copy of every meeting, not the video. They voted that, I personally think all video should be retained. And fortunately for us now, our videos go out on our local community channel. So if you got a DVR, it's kind of easy to make a library, But I don't know, Dan. That's about all I got right now. What else you got?
And I mean, I'd like to hear from people. I'd like to. Our email's right on the screen there. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
Most people know us, so you feel free to speak up. Talk about what's going on. I know right now we're going through some issues in the park with a new fob system. Patience is the key. Some people say they work, some people don't. It started out on the wrong foot, being a week delayed, but other than that, give it some time. Be patient.
Yeah. Have you used yours?
I haven't got a new one yet.
Oh,
Matter of fact,
I picked mine up yesterday, but I haven't used it.
no, I saw one of the gals in the office while I was down there today with the bazaar, and she actually asked me if I picked them. I just haven't had time.
Yeah, I was down there yesterday asking other questions, so I picked mine up while I was there. Yeah.
They remind me of what are those little trackers that they have?
Geotags.
Yeah, the geotags, so they'll know exactly where you are.
It's
So-
funny.
So they'll have a record of me and Bill sitting here like this.
Somebody that was in down in the lobby with me yesterday waiting, we were waiting to get our new fobs. He says to me, he says, look at this thing. He says, they can track us any place we are.
Yeah.
I love what his wife said. She said, yep, she's going to see me in the kitchen. They're going to see me in the living room. You're going to see me watching my TV. You're going to see me in my house. It's like, it's a joke. But anyway, systems cost a lot of money, but we were due for an upgrade, that's for sure. And like anything else that goes on, especially in a community as large as ours, you got to give it a little time. They got to work the bugs out, the kinks. And hopefully, another week or so, they'll get it all working.
Maybe next time we'll bring up a topic, something along the lines of leadership. The responsibilities of leadership, what they are. I know a lot of people talk about that when they complain and they say, "Oh, this guy doesn't do that, and this guy doesn't do that, and this one, and she's So hey, let's find out. Let's get some questions answered about leadership.
Yeah.
Ask us questions, send us answers, whatever.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you.
Alrighty, and next one we may or may not, we're not sure yet, but I think we may have a guest in with us also. I've had a request, And we shall see.
Is it gonna be the accountant?
Yes.
No.
And
I'm
but
excited
the
about that
problem
one.
is, anybody that guests on this program, and we'll bring anybody on, they have to follow our rules. And as you've noticed, we don't talk about anybody by name. We don't tell you where we live. We tell you we live in an HOA community, but we don't tell you where. You know? And we want that kept up like that because we don't want this to become a big finger pointing thing.
No.
This is more informational than anything else. Just to get it out to the people, you know.
Keep it light,
So, keep it light
keep it simple.
and keep it clean, you know. It's real easy to go the other way. It really is. The hard thing is keep it clean and just do the right thing. That's one of the things I believe in, is doing the right thing. You know, just in this past week, I've been accused by a couple of board members that I was a bully and I'm lying, and they tell me how I did it, and I says, so where's the proof of this? Who is saying this? And of course, they got no backup. You know, so we know where the lies are coming from. But
He bullies me every time I come over. He offers me Tootsie Rolls.
yeah, we
Makes me
eat
at
Tootsie
least 3 of them.
You see us chewing on. That's what we do. We chew on Tootsie Rolls to keep the, the moisture out in our mouths as we talk. So, but anyway,
It's
like
been-
I said, our email address is up there, and of course, you all know where I live. This gets posted on one of our community Facebook pages. And please give us comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about. You know, and we'll continue along. So until we see you all again, this is Bill.
This is Dan. It's always been fun. Thank you.
Alrighty, have a good day, everyone.
See ya.